I'm not sure what I would call it. It's the alliance system. It's a image of the alliance system and a graphic organizer for the alliance system. I don't know what you want to call it. Kind of up to you. I just want you to know what you have to have. So you need 3 circles of one color, 3 circles of another color, and then 2 circles that are different colors. So you need 8 circles total.
Wait, so say that again?
8 circles total. 3 one color, 3 another color, and then 2 individual circles, different colors. Okay, so once you get those up, this does not have to be precise. We just want 3 circles. It doesn't even matter if they're all the same size. Mine I just copied, so it made it easy. I just duplicated circles. And I don't have all day to spend on waiting on you.
How do you duplicate one?
Just
Control
copy and paste it.
Control C and then Control V. Alright, so I actually am going to go finish this thing. Yeah. England. Oh. It's the octopus England for imperialism. Did we not get the name yesterday?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we did.
Right when we left.
Alright, because I thought you did. I was like, I thought this was. Okay, so you guys need to have your notes up.
How do you change the colors on them?
With the little thing that's a paint drum that pours it in. Okay, I don't have all day for you to play in circles, so you're going to have to just leave your circles and come get your notes. You can come back to your circles here in a minute. Okay, so find your notes, pull them up real quick, come back. Okay, stop with your circles, go find your notes. You still got circles you're worried about. You're on the wrong thing, go find your notes. Because circles are secondary to notes. This picture is already in, it's already in the Moodle, so you can copy it out of there if you need to. Okay, so yesterday we ended with England's imperialism, remember? We were talking about, we did the big map, they're painting the world red, and then I showed you this little octopus right as you were leaving. And this is a really good example of England taking over everything. They've got their fingers and hands on everything, right? They're grabbing and grasping and holding on to everything. And then the next one we go to is militarism. Okay, so one of the things that's about militarism that we need to make sure we understand is what it is. All right, militarism. It gives you an explanation of what it is, but my explanation is it's a standing army. So what is standing army? What does that mean? It's a standing army. Come on, be brave. Standing army. The U.S. has a standing army. An active army. Mason's right. It's an active army. It's an army that's ready to fight. In fact, our army in about 2 minutes can respond to a threat. In about 2 minutes, we can scramble jets and have them up in the air. We're actually down on time because 9/11, it took us 5 minutes. 9/11, from the time we figured out that we had a threat, it took us 5 minutes to get our jets in the air. We're down to 2. Yes, sir.
Is Haven in here? No, I don't
She's
see her.
not here today.
She's not here today. Okay, thanks.
All right, so militarism is one of those things that when we look at it, it's not one that you go, ooh, that's militarism, that's what that is. It's not overt. It's not one of those things that you just look at it right in front of you, smack you in the head, and you understand that's what it is. Usually militarism is the thing that props up everything else. If you've got a nation, probably if you keep your nation, you have a military. Or you've got a really big friend with lots of military. If you own colonies, if you were imperialistic during this time period, how did you keep your imperialistic colonies? With a military. So it's not one of those things that we go, oh, military, military, that's what that is, that's militarism. No, it doesn't work that way. It's one of those, shh, you have a military. It's there, promise. It's not one of those things that's way overt. How did England hold all of its colonies and keep everything? It had the biggest navy in the world. It used the United States wood, used all the woods in America and all of its colonies to build its ships, and then it produced a very strong navy. It got rich off the trade from that navy. Produced more of a navy. Beat the Spanish Navy, which had been the strongest navy. Didn't have a very big army as such, but it had a huge navy. It's good for an island, right? France had a huge military. By the time World War I comes around, it's not very well trained and it's outdated. But it had a huge one. The best country for militarism, if we want to look at it, the best country for militarism is a country that doesn't exist anymore. It's called Prussia. If you put a P in front of the word Russia, you get Prussia. It's actually probably the most militaristic. In fact, the entire society was militaristic. For those of you that liked Greece and that time period, they're more like the Spartans. Or for those of you that are, you know, in Mr. Smithy's line, they are the Klingons.
Yeah.
So there you go. It's basically that warring nation. So whichever side of history or fantasy you like, that's basically what they were like. They were very, very warlike. Which does not mean, it does not mean that they did not pursue peaceful ends. Prussia realized that it was a small country, and that if it went to war with some of the bigger countries, it was not going to win, no matter how well-trained its military was. And it had a very well-trained military. So they had really good statesmen. And he made treaties and compacts with them. And his name was Otto von Bismarck. Anybody got him? Otto von Bismarck? No? Okay, maybe some of the other classes. Well, up here it's going to tell you about Prussia. The middle section tells you about Prussia. The bottom section is going to tell you about England's Royal Navy. And the top one just gives you a basic of what militarism. So that's what the 3 paragraphs are. Yeah, I get shocked every time. All right, so here's an example from a newspaper. Overseas contingent and largest military parade ever held in Toronto. So this comes back to how well do you know your history? What country is on parade here if they're in Canada? If they're in Toronto, what country is on parade here? The overseas contingent. France. Everybody guess France.
Because it's
France. No, they're not owned by France. Who's on their coin? England.
Oh yeah,
England's the queen is on their coins. France lost it. They lost this to England a long time before. French and Indian War. They lost it.
I had some balance.
Yeah, it's got the queen on it.
Smells like.
Does it? I didn't know that. So England, I don't know why everybody guesses France. I guess because France was where it originally started, but only Quebec. I'm sorry. Only Quebec is loyal to France, and the only province that speaks French. What language do the Canadians speak? English. So that should tell you something where their loyalties lie. They speak English. So there you go. Miss Blackstone and them went over to Canada when we were in Detroit this summer. They brought back, let's see, I think Miss Blackstone brought back some maple syrup. Yeah. Alright, how about a political cartoon for you? I know how much you enjoy my political cartoons. I kind of like this one. It took us a while to figure out who everyone was. This one is Great Britain, and that one is France.
That looks like America.
This one's Uncle Sam. We're not sure who's stepping Santa Claus down here. Does it not look like he's stepping Santa Claus down? I don't know who it is, but we can't figure out who that
Oh,
is.
it's around the
That one's Japan, and this one we think is Italy. So, of course, this is a period cartoon, so some of the words are not as nice as they should be. And of course, they're all arguing with one another for domination of the oceans. That's militarism. That's what you're looking at. Who's got the biggest and the best army? who's going to pursue it. And the poor globe doesn't look too happy about it all. Yeah, the globe is looking like it's.
That kind of looks like the Bismarck that's stabbing Santa Claus.
Yeah, I don't think so. It's some other country. I'm not sure who it is.
But it looks like the Bismarck.
It looks like it doesn't have a flag on it, so I don't know who it is.
Probably Santa is a flag.
It could be. I'm not really sure. Even when I look at it over here, I can't tell what it is. So.
Like I'm gonna kill him.
All right, I just thought this was a good graphic. It kind of paints a picture for you of what militarism looks like in action. So from 1480 to 1940, there are 278 wars. 28% of them, England fought in. So roughly a quarter of the wars, or a little over a quarter of the wars, England was fighting in. Yeah, there was Navy powers, they're protecting their colonies. I would vote that probably 22% of them England started. That was because they're imperialistic. You can't have imperialism without a good army. Do you hear me? You cannot have imperialism without a good army. You cannot have imperialism without a good army. And unless you're Switzerland, you can't have a nation without a good army. Switzerland being the exception.
Why would Switzerland?
Switzerland's always neutral, and we kind of accept their neutrality. It's just a general rule. And Switzerland doesn't really have a standing army. They give every citizen a gun and a box of bullets.
Dang, I want to go.
I don't think I'd want to. I'm not sure that that would be the best idea. A revolver and a bunch of bullets to go out against tanks. I'm not sure that's a good idea.
Yeah, but
I'm still not sure that's a good idea.
Switzerland, they just don't have an army to defend themselves.
No, they're to defend themselves. I think what would happen though is everybody else would kind of come to their aid. Because all the other countries around here kind of realize that they're neutral. So all the money's there. During World War II, they held both sides' money.
Those are like bullets for the bullets.
Did you say Scotland won
I thought they were
like
crazy.
wars?
England was in about a third of the war. A little less than a third, yeah. Okay, so assassination. This is the last one in Mania, assassination. So Archduke Ferdinand was shot by a Serbian national. He was shot in the neck. He died there in the car. His wife Sophia was shot in the belly. She died there in the car. Yeah, she got an extra one. I love how you laughed at her death. The next thing that you have to realize is that the guy that did the shooting was Serbian. Where was Ferdinand from?
Yeah,
He was from Austria. In case you didn't get that.
I didn't get it. I don't know.
All right, so he was Serbian. The Serbian national shot the Austrian heir to the throne. Right? That's what he is. He's the heir to the throne. He shot him, killed him. That is not going to make Austria happy, right? That would be like somebody walking up and shooting our president. Or maybe instead we should say shooting our president's two girls.
Oh.
So you got to think about it that way. They shot his son. So if you are sitting there and you think about that really hard, that's going to make us pretty darn mad. That's going to make us pretty darn mad. I mean, heck, we got mad over 9/11, and it was not even a country that did this. It was a group of people that were extremists. So this guy was also an extremist, except during this time period they blamed the country, just like we did. So Austria turns to Serbia and goes, "Hey Serbia, we're going to beat the snot out of you."
Yeah.
And Serbia goes, "We didn't do it. It wasn't our fault. It wasn't our fault. Russia, hell." Russia was Serbia's best friend. They kind of thought of Serbia as a little tiny country, a little baby them. They really liked Serbia. You know why? Got any clues?
Money.
Good idea. Good idea. A little bit, but not as much as it is another thing. Serbia was Slavic. Serbia is majority Slavic, like 98%. They were that minority group that was like, we treated our Native Americans. They were way Slavic. And they wanted to do pan-Slavism. They wanted to start a Slavic nation.
What about Slovakia?
Well, that whole area down there, they wanted to create a country called Yugoslavia.
Really?
That country actually existed until about 1980-ish.
What happened then?
The Iron Curtain ended, Cold War ended, and Yugoslavia broke up into a bunch of little bitty countries that all argue with one another.
Like a family.
So they wanted to start, now you gotta understand where this is going. So Russia goes, Serbia, that's a great idea. You start this whole Slavic nation. On the side, I think Russia's thinking, yeah, you start it, we'll send you a ton of Slavic people. We got a vent. Let them out of our country. Go, go, go. Does that make sense? Kind of like we did with the Native Americans. We herded them onto reservations.
There you go.
Here, we're gonna give you land. Go there. So I think Russia was kind of thinking that, and they kind of babied Serbia, and they gave them money and arms, and helped support them in their endeavor. Austria-Hungary did not like this idea. They're Germanic. They are an opposing group. They didn't like that idea. So they're on the opposite side. They didn't want Pan-Slavism to work. They didn't want Serbia to set up a new empire. Because guess what? If they set up a new empire that was controlled by Russia, right? Serbia won. They set up that little area and they controlled it. Ooh, that would mean that Austria-Hungary, who's in the center of the map, has an enemy to the south, an enemy over here, an enemy over here, and an enemy up here. Oh, that's gonna suck. That's so gonna suck. They're surrounded. Surrounded. That goes that, help. They're surrounded by sharks. Kind of like a lifesaver. Float down the lifesaver in the middle of the ocean, the shark circling. Yes, not good. So they didn't like this idea. They thought it was a bad thing. So when this Serbian national shot Austria-Hungary's prince, they took it upon themselves to start an argument. It's going to take 4 years and a couple 100,000 people to settle. So here's a little video.
Known at the time as the Great War, or the War to End All Wars, World War I was the first global war. Lasting 4 years, it involved 30 countries and 65 million soldiers, causing unprecedented levels of carnage and destruction. It all started in Europe during the summer of 1914, when a young Serbian nationalist assassinated an Austro-Hungarian archduke. Alliances of Europe's most powerful nations, formed over the previous decades, squared off against each other, and the conflict soon spread around the world. Along the Western Front in Europe, soldiers packed into 2,500 miles of trench lines, one soldier for every 4 inches of trench. World War I introduced many technological firsts, such as machine guns, tanks, and chemical weapons. In all, more than 100,000 tons of chemical weapons agents were used in the conflict. And the first ever blood bank was set up by U.S. Army Medical Corps on a Belgian battlefield in 1917. But although the fighting was fierce, we bet you didn't know about a brief but memorable truce, which occurred on Christmas Eve 1914, when fighting spontaneously stopped along 2/3 of the Western Front. Near Ypres, Belgium, German and British troops played a football match in no man's land. Germany won 3-2. Most leaders had thought the war would be over by the holidays, but 4 more years of bloodshed ensued. World War I finally ended at 11 a.m. of the 11th day of November 1918. All in all, some 9 million soldiers were killed, a rate of at least 6,000 a day. Some 21 million more were wounded. At least 5 million civilians died of disease, starvation, or exposure. The deadly influenza epidemic of 1918 to 19 also took its toll, killing more American soldiers than died in battle. Perhaps worst of all, the war to end all wars would not fulfill that promise. Instead, the Versailles Treaty's punitive terms against Germany proved a destabilizing force, helping sow the seeds for Adolf Hitler's rise and the start of another world war barely 2 decades later.
One of the things you need to understand about this war is it has long-lasting effects. It definitely has a legacy. I want you to see how much 4 inches was. So if they did the trenches and they put everybody down there, they had that much room. That much right there.
Between every shoulder.
What if like one of them like got sick?
Well,
You're screwed.
Pretty much took everybody out, and people were sick a lot. There was a lot of sickness in the trenches. And a lot of death because there was really no place to go outside of the trenches.
What if like one of them dies? Do they like kick him out? And then-
Sort of. They had a tendency to stack the bodies. Yeah, stack the bodies. All right, here's the resources that I used to make this presentation. I'm giving them to you. You don't tend to look at my portal page, but it's there for you, and there are tons of resources on that portal page. I know you don't like it, but it's there, and it has everything that I use, plus some. But these are the ones I used. So if you're trying to do your work and you're having trouble and you can't find an answer, here's a place for you to go look. I've already checked their sources. I already know that they're good. So you might look at it. By the way, if you're really interested in World War I, you really like it, the BBC, they probably are the best at World War I and World War II both. They probably have the best resources. The other place you might look if you're going to do World War II is the National Park Service, because the United States has a national park in Normandy. We have a national park in Normandy, which is the French coast, right? Ladies. If you want to know about in between the wars, the U.S. probably has the better stuff, but this is probably one of the best resources for World War I. All right, I'm going to go back and show you that draw that we were working on. So I'm going to run you through this so you can see it. All right, so we have 3 countries here. We have 3 countries, and they're going to make alliances with each other. Each on their own terms. They're going to make alliances with each other. And these 3 countries are Italy, ooh, not that way, this guy. Italy, Austria-Hungary, and Germany. Okay, so Italy, Austria, Hungary, and Germany are going to make alliances to help one another. So, say Austria-Hungary is attacked. Oh, I don't know, by, say, a Serbian national who kills their prince. Well, then, when they attack Serbia, their friends, Italy and Germany, are going to have their back. But say another group of people have made friends. I would call these people France, Russia, and Britain. Now, if someone was to attack one of their friends, say Russia's friend got in trouble, Russia's friend happens to be Serbia, so Russia's going to come to their friend's aid. What that does is it brings not only Russia into the fray, but France and Britain also. Even though France and Britain have no connection to Serbia. It's only Russia. Now you look at this and you go, Miss Hendrickson, you've got another half of a circle and a big orange blob down there. What on earth are you doing? Well, that's because Austria-Hungary has its own friend that's on the opposing side of Serbia. Serbia really doesn't like Bulgaria. They have opposing sides. Bulgaria happens to be in an area that Serbia wants to take over to do its country, or to make its country Yugoslavia. However, Bulgaria has closer ethnic ties to the German type countries. And along with it comes a new country that has ties in both areas and the Middle East, but it sides with Bulgaria and Germany. Alright, so these group, the blue ones, they're the Central Powers. If you think about this, I want you to think about where they are on the map. That's how they get their name. Central Powers are all, well, Austria and Germany are in the center. Right? You look at a map, they're in the center, and they're flanked all around by people that want to attack them. So they're in the center. These other ones are called the Allied Powers. I know it's difficult because this is the Triple Alliance, and they're called the Central Powers. This is the Triple Entente, yet they're called the Allied Powers. Don't ask me. I didn't make up their alliance names. I know, they're opposite. I always have to remind myself of that. If pictures don't help you, if this picture does not make your life easier, which does happen in some cases, I have written this out in words. I have put it in the Prezi. It is all in there for you. So if it does not help you and you want years and written out lines because lines are better for you, I totally get that. If, after looking at all of this stuff, you come up with a better idea of how to present this, by all means, send it to me and I'll put it out by Moodle announcement. Because you're basically looking at the same alliance set that's going to be there for World War II. Does that make sense? Because when these three get done with the war, they're so ticked off at these three that they pretty much destroy their economy. Well, they tell them they're going to pay for the entire war. So they pretty much destroy the economy of these three over here. And because of that, Hitler and Mussolini and those types of people can take a hold in those countries. If they had been nicer at the end of World War I, maybe Hitler wouldn't have been able to take power. There's no positives in this. I say maybe. And whoever you are that has Hitler, whoever that person is, before and after lunch, they need to do a good job of looking at where Hitler was during World War I. Alright. So this is also in the Prezi, this picture's there. I'm going to go and show you a short little video because I think you'll find it interesting. It's talking about the assassination, but I wanted to do that first to make sure I got it. So this is the map is history. And this guy has a nice British accent. He's going to tell you all about it.
In the morning of June 28, 1914, the procession of the Archduke of Austria was making its way towards City Hall in Sarajevo when a bomb was hurled in its direction. The Archduke, seated in the second car, was uninjured and was able to continue his route. A half hour later, while returning, the procession passed in front of Schiller's store, where a young Bosnian Serb, Gavrilo Princip, was waiting. Princip fired 2 shots, mortally wounding the heir to the Austrian throne and his wife. This attack was carried out by a group of young Bosnian nationalists hostile to the Austrian presence. In the weeks that followed, the Viennese government used the event to challenge Serbia, which was planning to bring together all the southern Slavic peoples into a greater Yugoslavia, thus threatening the unity of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. 28th of July, Vienna declared war on Serbia and bombed Belgrade. The 30th of July, Russia, Serbia's protector, declared a general mobilization. The 1st of August, Germany asked...
Did you notice this little piece right here moved in? Right there next to Serbia? West of Serbia? Because Russia owned that land. Now do you understand why they were taking care of Serbia? Germany's now coming. They're going to go through and tell you each country as they come in.
Austria's ally declared war on Russia, while France also mobilized its forces. 3rd of August, Germany declared war on France. The next day, the 4th of August, Germany's violation of Belgian neutrality pushed the United Kingdom into joining France and Russia in the war. In a matter of days, the system of alliances put into place in Europe plunged the continent into war. Public opinion in the great majority of countries failing to mobilize to preserve the peace. The war, which should have been of short duration, would instead last for more than 4 years and spread progressively to other belligerents. The Ottoman Empire entered the war in November 1914. Italy, then Bulgaria in May and October 1915. Portugal and Romania in March and September 1916. Greece in June 1917. In the interim, the United States declaration of war on Germany in April 1917 gave the war a global status, which already involved European colonial empires.
What that means is it already involved European colonial empires. So it's talking about pretty much northern Africa, lots of Asia. India belonged to England, right? Northern Africa pretty much belonged to France. So you have all of these different groups. In fact, if you go to the BBC World War I page, you'll see a camel brigade. British soldiers sitting on camels so they could fight in northern Africa, right? Pretty fun to look at the camel brigade, just in general. Alright, so the rest of the class period, you have to finish anything that you need to finish. You can put your notes in, you can start on your assignment, you can study for your math test this next week, Thursday. Whatever it is you need to do, you have the last like 5-6 minutes of class to yourselves to get it all done.